All right, episode 110. Welcome to Pursuit of Balance with your boy, Corey. Today we're going to talk about my favorite form of cardio and what I get reminded every time I end up playing. And I think I never really gave it enough credit of understanding the importance of having this until you lose it. And then you get older and you realize you don't have any of that. And what I am talking about is physical hobbies and sporting. So, we had a member outing. We've been doing our summer one the last 3 years has been a sporting one. We did kickball the first year. We did flag football the second year. And then last weekend we did volleyball, basketball, and ultimate frisbee, right? So I played about 8 hours on Saturday of just straight sporting. And then on Sunday I played 2 rounds of golf. So it was like 9 hours of golf. Then I got home Sunday and I was telling my fiance, I was like, that was like my fucking dream weekend. It was like the best weekend. And, you know, I think a lot of times from a client perspective, and obviously to help you guys out and understanding the importance of why you should be searching for these things in life, is sporting is so much deeper than just moving and having cardio, right? So I don't want to make it just strictly just like a very methodical, like, well, we do this for cardio. We don't do this for cardio. We do this for community. We do this for a social aspect. We do this for competitive things. We do this for technical awareness. We do this for motor control. We do this for speed development, agility. Like, there's so many other aspects of, like, what it provides. And that's the thing that makes it fun, right? And I think when things are fun, things are sustainable. You know, and I had a conversation with a fit start of a couple I signed up last night. And she was like, I haven't really ever done strength training. She was in her late 40s, and she's like, I ride my bike every day to work, and I really, really enjoy riding my bike. And, you know, it's something that's actually, I go to the office 5 days a week, even though I'm not required to, just because I enjoy the bike ride. And that was something that is just, like, so true for so many people, but it's like, you need to be able to explore a little bit to find what is fun for you, right? And a client of mine, Shyla, we were talking about this briefly this morning. She's now playing golf and playing tennis and, you know, having some competitive stuff in there, but some sports on her free time outside the gym. And she's obviously consistent in the gym as well, too, with some personal training. She's like, hey, I never really grew up playing sports. And now, like, I understand the importance of it. And it's probably the only way that I would love to do my cardio outside the gym. I think about, like, a road bike or going on a run or going on a swim. And you know, we work with a lot of triathletes, and we work with a lot of people that, like, do cardio outside of the gym. Like, inside the gym, I think, like, something that I really try to promote for you guys is go to the gym to become stronger, to build muscle, to work on mobility and posture, to improve your movement mechanics, maybe do a little bit of some anaerobic conditioning here and there. But do all of your aerobic stuff outside of the gym, right? Go play sports, go hike, go, you know, find a physical hobby that keeps you moving. And when it comes to the movement exercise conversation, exercise is what you do dedicated inside the gym. Movement is what you do all day long, right? And for some people, sporting can be exercise, right? I have another one of my clients, my 11 a.m., she just started playing pickleball. Not really big into sports too, but like, pickleball, sometimes I talk a little shit about it because I feel like it's in between ping pong and tennis, and it's like, why not just play tennis? But for so many people, it's something that's great. You have community of other people doing it. You play singles or doubles. When you're playing doubles, you have this competitive atmosphere that you're creating. You're working on agility, you're working on mechanics, you're moving, you're exercising, and you're doing it for 1, 2, even 3 hours. I mean, some of the clients that we know that play pickleball here, I mean, they're doing it for so many hours, and it's amazing because that's a form of cardio that does not feel like exercise. You know, and I think where most people lose their motivation towards going on runs or riding their road bike or swims or hikes or things like that is it's just not as fun. We do it with the mindset of doing it for the exercise versus sports or any type of physical hobby that you have that you enjoy. It gives you another element that makes it more fun and enjoyable. And that is what creates sustainability. And out of all the things I preach the most outside of balance is sustainability. Like, we want to find something that can be part of your lifestyle, a functional lifestyle. And the only way it becomes part of the lifestyle if it does feel fun to you. And that's the thing that's going to help the most. So, going down the laundry list of things, just to kind of help you guys, remember that, like, number one of the most overlooked things, especially in today's day and age, I would say more so during the pandemic and post-pandemic more than ever in my life, where we don't really live in a country that's very, how do I say this? Like community based. Like when you think about a lot of other countries, they do like there's, I don't know. I'm trying to best word this, but whatever. I think a lot of things, and especially since the pandemic, we've lost this human interaction, the social interaction. And then even with just the technological era, a lot of our communication is done email, phones, texts, FaceTimes, DMs, like instant messengers, Slacks, like whatever. So there's not really a human connection. And then when it comes to health, you have to understand how important that is, right? Like when you look at the blue zones, right? And I always bring this up because I like this is one of the easiest conversations to have around longevity. Community is such a big piece to every single one of the blue zones, right? So if we know community is going to be important for our longevity and our health, then we need to make sure that we have outlets to find community, right? This is why, like selfishly with my business, I think it's so important for so many people. Not just the exercise, but the community being able to work out next to other people, the social aspect that it creates, the relationships that it creates. That is one of those like hidden gems of the favorite part of my job. Even the coaches that find significant others, right? Or the people that hang out outside of the gym and start to have lunch dates and have to go to parties together. I fucking love that. And that's the idea of creating a strong community and creating a social network, because that social aspect is one of those things that's a part of this health dimension. So it's not physical, it's not just mental, it's not just emotional, it's not just financial like I talked about last week, it's a social element. There's so many other things. So I think a lot of physical hobbies and sports more specifically, they bring such a big community that come with it that it's going to give you a social outlet for so other things, right? Then the other aspect of it, which I think is really probably my favorite part about it, like I mentioned earlier in this conversation, is like the element of making something a byproduct that is still a big focus for most people's life, right? So what I mean by that is like a lot of people know that they should be having some type of cardiovascular work in there, or some type of movement, but like that's strictly from just cardiovascular health. But like I said earlier, running and dedicated bike time, or sitting on the Peloton, or going on the Stairmaster. I remember like even when my competitions, I used to have to do 30 minutes of treadmill in the morning. I freaking dreaded it. But now it's like if I were to go play golf for 5 hours, I love it, right? If I were to go shoot some basketball, even when I'm like taking Kona out to the park or whatever it is. I mean, even literally just playing pass outside as a kid was like one of my favorite pastimes. They create a byproduct of the health benefit, right? So like you're not going there necessarily maybe for the sole intent of, well, I'm going to do this just for cardio. I'm going to go do this because I like playing pickleball. I'm going to go do this because I like playing basketball. I'm going to go do this because I love playing golf. So you're going for the thing that you love, right? And it brings, like I said, number one, community. Number two, it brings a byproduct of all the physical aspect of it. So when you think about playing sports and these physical hobbies, number one, you're going to get a lot of cardiovascular benefit, right? You're going to burn way more calories playing tennis for a couple hours than you are going to be going on a 30-minute run, right? Even if the run was way more intense than the tennis felt, right? Then you're going to work on some of the agility. The cool thing about sports, I think from a functional perspective, and this is something I talk about in my assessments, this is something I talk about in my training approach, is people go to the gym and they train like they're linear robots, right? When in reality, we are asymmetrical, so left to right, top to bottom are different. We are three-dimensional, which means that we can not only just go forward, backwards, up, and down, but we also can go laterally and we can rotate. So it works on all these full movements because you're doing things, I'm just going to use my weekend, right? Ultimate frisbee, basketball, volleyball. I'm jumping, I'm on one foot, I'm hitting with one hand, I'm dribbling. So there's coordination, there's agility, right? There's asymmetrical movement, there's three-dimensional movement. So you're getting all these physical benefits that majority, 99% of people, are never going to do in the gym. So I think it's very complementary from a functional perspective of the physical side of sports to make sure that you understand that these things are important for longevity, right? Like I think a lot of times when you think about some of like the basic mortality things like a grip test is like an early test to know like on someone's mortality, right? Like, or the ability to get up. But when you think about also the other aspect of like motor control and coordination, right? A lot of people like lose their coordination, right? They're walking around looking like they've never done anything in their life, and that's because they're never exploring those ranges. They're never exploring those movements, right? So I think the importance of having some type of sport in your life is going to allow you to still have this mind to muscle connection that stays integrated throughout your entire life. You're going to get that movement in, you're going to get the agility, get all those things that I talked about. There's a book called Boundless by Ben Greenfield, and it talks about one of the chapters, like what are the longest living athletes and like what sports are they? And racket sports was actually the number one. And I think like golf was like two or three. I forget what the list is. I read this book forever ago. But it kind of goes to show you that like from a longevity perspective too. I mean, obviously the importance of someone not being sedentary versus someone moving is a big difference. But the difference between someone moving and enjoying and playing sports is going to outweigh the other person that's just maybe walking instead, right? So I think like finding a nice balance between those two things is always so big. And then for me, which I think from a mindset perspective, and this is something I talk a lot with like my cold plunge, there's a lot of like benefits to contrast therapy and the sauna and the cold plunge, and specifically to the cold plunge, some of it can be a little woo woo. But the biggest thing that I do the cold plunge for is not the like adapted thermogenesis. It's not the metabolic increase. It's not some of like the hormone increase that you get from shocking yourself from cold shock proteins. For me, it's the mental. It's always been like it's a way for me to train myself to do something that I don't want to do, knowing that I'm going to feel amazing when I get out of it. But the idea of being able to convince myself to do the hard things in all areas or controlled areas of life is kind of like this hormetic response, and hormetic stress carries over to me doing other hard things in my life, right? Like, I think when we avoid the hard things, we make easy things feel hard, right? When you do the hard things and you get used to doing the hard things and you mentally are in a perspective of inviting it, not fighting it, you make hard things look easy. And that's why would you not want to have a life where hard things feel easy? Most people have a lot of easy things in their life that they make feel hard. So I think it's important to find a balance of that too. So in relation to sports and kind of physical hobbies like I was talking about, this competitive atmosphere of not just competitive with other people. I'm even talking about just being competitive with yourself. Like golf has taught me a lot of indirect things outside of golf, right? Like the idea that like I need to be patient, right? The idea that like, or the concept that like when I am frustrated mentally, that my game is only getting worse. So having the composure, having the discipline, the amount of reps and hours it takes to actually become good at something, the amount of little detailed tweaks in my coordination and my mechanics of the swing, like these are all things that like all sports provide. I'm just using golf as an example, that I think have a lot of carryover to real life too, because like for me, golf, like I just said, is giving me another realm of like patience, understanding that like what is getting frustrated going to do for this game, and the answer is nothing. So it's like in life, what is me getting frustrated about this thing going to do for that thing, and the answer is nothing. So there's a lot of carryover with a lot of the mindset side of sports, right? And I think this idea of like being competitive, and I don't know, and I'm not sure that everyone even listening to this is even competitive by nature. I've always been a very, very competitive person. So for me, I needed a competitive outlet always in my life because that's where I feel like I function the best. Naturally, majority of my adult life has been more business. Business has been my competitive outlet. But even playing sports over the weekend, or there's physical hobbies that I have, being competitive myself to be able to do it better, do it faster, or whatever it is, that is like a very mentally satisfying thing for me too. But even for the people that aren't competitive, I still think there is so much benefit from having some outlets that require you to be competitive or push yourself past a boundary that you're even comfortable with. Because, like I said earlier, I just think it has so much carryover to everything else that we're going to do, right? So, number one, the community, the social aspect. Number two is the physical aspect of it, right? The physical aspect being everything we talked about, from the strength, the speed, the agility, the coordination, the technical awareness, the mind to muscle connection. The third one is going to be kind of the mental aspect of it, and the kind of the mindset shift and perspective shift that you're going to have on life, because having these outlets are going to carry over, because there is a good old saying that how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So the last piece I want to leave you guys with is try to find something, number one, that you have somewhat of an interest around, right? And if you don't really have a lot of interest around a lot of things, maybe start to explore, ask people around you some of the things that they're doing, and maybe just doing it with the people that you already love or have a good relationship with, and let those interests kind of spark themselves. Because getting outside and moving is something that I will always forever preach and talk about, right? And that's also another benefit. You get outside, you get to work on your tan, you get to be on real grass, depending on the sports. That's another thing I didn't even talk about. I almost missed all of that. That's my favorite part. No. But I mean, obviously, like I was saying, like getting back to just moving and being outdoors and connecting more to nature and just being a freaking human, right? Like doing what we are designed to do, getting out, like getting out of your house and not being sedentary and not being surrounded by bullshit and stress all your life. It's an easy way to just run yourself into a hole from a health perspective. But go find these communities, right? I think a lot of times, and this, I'm a victim of this myself, like finding leagues or finding people to do it with on a Sunday or like whatever it is, take the time to go start to explore. And if you're someone that maybe is not ready to join a league or even do it with other people, just go do it by yourself. Like I shoot basketball when I go walk Kona every once in a while, like the little school by my house, right? Or going to the driving range for me is meditative, and just going to do something that like requires some type of work on my hobby or my physical hobby. Like those are always things for me that are just more fun. And I think like the last little piece that I kind of touched on that I brought up is like the nature part for me has always been like when you look at trying to de-stress and from a stress management perspective, there's so much to talk in this conversation that I'm not going to talk about today. But nature, I feel like, has always been one of the best doctors for really just reducing stress immediately. Like when I'm outside in nature, when I'm at a beach, when I'm on a hike, when I'm out in the forest, I'm even just sitting on the grass at a park, it's like hard to be stressed there, right? Versus when I'm sitting inside, I'm on a laptop and I'm working, it's the opposite. It's very easy to get stressed. So what I like about physical hobbies and sports, and when I also say sports, I want you guys to remember that I'm not just talking about these formal sports, right? Because something I grew up doing probably more of than sports, even though I played a lot of sports, was extreme sports like mountain biking or snowboarding or surfing. I mean, like, think about all the other benefits. Like, that was something I was just having a conversation with a client the other day of I don't really like road biking for me. I mean, to be honest with you, if you're a road biker on this, I don't even like most of you guys on the road because you guys think you're a fucking car, but then you get to have all these little road bike rules that, oh, you can run the red light, but I can't, but you can take up this lane. Like, I should be given money to hit some of you guys. I take that back. I'm sorry. I'm just getting frustrated. Um, for me, it's like mountain biking is way more fun than road biking because not only am I going to get the same workout, if not maybe a better workout, but whatever. Let's call it same workout. Maybe you get a better workout because you climb a little bit more than I do. But when I get to go downhill, I get to have this adrenaline rush of having trails and jumps and hard turns and bank turns and speed and all this other stuff versus going downhill on a road bike is just like try to keep the bike upright. So you're missing some of that, like the fun aspect of it too, right? Second thing is like I'm in nature. I'm in the mountains by myself, hearing nothing. You were surrounded by cars, right? So I think about that with road running versus trail running, right? I think about that swimming in a chlorinated public pool versus going surfing out in the ocean. Like, there's like an additional step of not only fun but health benefits of doing the things that are closer to nature. So when I say sports and physical hobbies, I'm not just talking about you got to go play basketball or tennis. Like, go do things that you enjoy that are physical by nature, right? And do those things outside the gym. Go mountain bike, go surf, go snowboard in the wintertime, right? Like, go rock climb, like, do whatever. I mean, there are so many things for so many people to choose from. And literally all you need is one of those for you to fall in love with to change your freaking life. Because the idea of just working and going home and being a family person and having nothing for yourself sounds like a pretty bad life to me. No, I mean, I think the family stuff's important. I think work's important. Big proponent of both of those. But find something for you. Find something that fills your cup. And that requires a little exploring around it. If you're someone that didn't grow up playing sports or having extreme sports, like, let this be an opportunity for no matter what age you are, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, to go learn a new thing, learn a new skill. The idea of a new skill, I think, is even more exciting because you get to learn a new thing. And it's an outlet that I think so many of us overlook. And I probably will do this podcast every summer after the sporting event. I'm generally pretty good about keeping most of my physical hobbies in my life, but there's a lot of times where work gets in the way and life gets in the way and I don't have as much time for it. And it's not like I'm depressed when I don't have it, but I realize how much happier I am when I am in those environments, right? So I hope you guys can take something away from this, that sports and physical hobbies outside of the gym are the most important thing that you can do for your mental health, your physical health, your social health. Definitely not financial. It's going to ruin your financial health. I've been playing golf, and it is a very expensive sport. So I'm not going to try to sit here and preach you that it's going to make you better financially. Maybe it makes you happier, so it makes you work harder at work, and then you make more money. But definitely not going to help you with financial health. So, all right, guys. Well, as always, I hope you got some good little nuggets to share with this one. If you think anybody can hear this one, or you want to share this with a loved one or a friend that you think should be doing these things with you, share the podcast with them. Let them listen to it. All right, guys. Well, take care. Have a good weekend or whatever day it is, and I'll see you next week.